In another video in this channel, I covered how to borrow access tokens from AppScript to be able to use Google services where OAuth2 is required for authorization. If you're lucky enough to only need to use an API for which AppScript already has a built-in or an advanced service, this is by far the easiest approach. However, there are close on 100 Google APIs, and only about a quarter of those have been implemented as AppScript services. So how to get the others? Well, the next easiest way is to use a service account. Normally, service accounts would be used in cases where the protected resource wasn't really owned by an individual, but perhaps it was owned by the application. Using a service account is ideal when running something like a regularly triggered service where there is no human intervention, and that's why it's normally used in server environments. Until fairly recently, you couldn't use service accounts from AppScript without some major hacking, but now it supports the encrypted signing it needs to enable service accounts. So for this example, I'll use the Cloud Vision API. This is an API that does image analysis and has not been implemented as an AppScript service. I'll also use the Goa AppScript library, which takes care of managing the OAuth2 token infrastructure. The first task in the newly created project is to add the Goa library like this. I'll show you this library key again at the end of the video. Next, we need to go to the Google Developers Console and enable the Cloud Vision API. Now, normally I would use the Developers Console entry for the active project, but because this particular API needs to have billing enabled, it does have a free tier, by the way, but nevertheless billing needs to be enabled to allow you to use it. I'm going to use one of my existing projects that already has billing enabled, and I'm going to enable this API, and now I want to find out what scope it needs. So we'll look at the Explorer, do that, and now we can see it needs the cloud platform scope, so we'll remember that for later. Next, I need some credentials, so I'm going to create a service account key. I'm going to create a new service account. Let's just call it CV or something, and this file that it creates can be downloaded. Now, you don't even have to look inside it because Goa knows how to read these kind of files. So all we got to do is download it, move it to drive, and get its key. Now we need to store information about this project in the property store of the project. And I'm going to be using the script properties service because that's the most appropriate for service accounts. It means that anybody using this project has got access to these credentials. And this pattern doesn't need many changes. It just needs a name that you remember because you're going to use it later to be able to refer to this package, the file ID that we downloaded a moment ago, and the scope that we discovered from the Developers Console. And everything else just stays the same. So we'll run that. And it's worth taking a look in the script properties to see what it did. So it wrote all this stuff here. So we don't need this function anymore. We can delete it if necessary because everything's already been now written to the script properties, as we just saw. That entire set of data in the script properties will be used and maintained by Goa to be able to get new tokens or refresh tokens as necessary. So that's all the setup that's required. Now, to be able to use this token, in other words, get one and then use it, but there's a particular pattern for that too. So here's the function that we're going to, this is the main function that we're going to use to be able to get the token, go off to the Cloud Vision API and do something. So we have to remind it what the package name is. We called it Cloud Vision Service Account, so it will use that to find it again. Tell it where to look. Properties, the service that I used was the script properties, and that's it. So when it gets to this point, it should have a token. It should already have gone through the motions of either getting or refreshing a token, so that should never happen. And that's all there is to it in terms of token getting and setting. So now we're ready to use it. So the endpoint for this particular API, Cloud Vision, is shown here. So what the API does is to take an image and analyze it and it can do many things with it, but in this case we're going to ask it to tell us what the image is about. So I've got a random image that I've taken from my drive here, and the request to the CloudVision API is to tell it what type of thing needs doing. Label detection is finding out what it is. We want a maximum of 5 results, and the way we pass the image is by encoding it, base64 encoding it. So we in fact send a string that is the image. And here's the response. We're sending this off to the CloudVision API. We're posting the body that we created up here, which was the request with the image encoded as a string. And here we're getting the token from the Goa object, which we created back up here. And that will be an up-to-date service account token that can be used to enable the use of this API. And then finally we'll just print the results. So let's run that and see if it works. So there's the log. It's recognized this photograph as being of all of these different levels of things with different degrees of accuracy. It's an animal, it's an insect, it's a close-up photo, a beetle and a ladybird. So just to check, this is the image that I sent over here. So pretty good job. So not all APIs allow you to use the service token, but most of them do. The service token is a very easy way of using OAuth2. The Goa Library makes it simple to implement, and it doesn't need any maintenance or intervention to keep tokens fresh. For more information on how all this works and to get the code, visit the links shown here. I have plenty of AppScript material available, so if you've got any special AppScript video requests, let me know here in the comments.